We're back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Thrashers Paradise. And today we are joined with a very special guest all the way from Montreal, right?
Montreal, yeah.
Now? All right, now. We are joined with Mark. He is the drummer to Cell Press, and they just released their first EP or album?
It's an EP.
EP called Cell Press, and it came out it came out a couple days ago, really, on the 27th of November. Mark, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. I just had a peach cobbler donut, and I'm feeling good.
Ooh, that sounds good.
It's gourmet.
I was about to say, is that a new thing at Timmy's or something? Jesus.
No, it's some from Bougie Shop in Ottawa.
I might have to just go to Ottawa just to try that. Damn, that sounds good. No. Well, Mark, a couple of days after the release of your debut EP, what's the response been like so far?
Yo, honestly, it's been really overwhelming, like a really positive response. Playing this type of music and being unknown, like it's our first release, I've been blown away by the response that we've been getting. And I like never expect anybody to give a shit because they shouldn't, you know? So like, yeah, all of the, like even before the actual release date, like some of the hype we were getting ahead of time, because we released a video and that got spread around like way more than I expected. I mean, it's still small time stuff here we're talking about, right? But yeah, just having it as like a passion and, you know, like a very, you know, it's not like a full-time thing. It's been very humbling for sure.
Now, the one main thing I do want to talk about when it comes to this album is the insane and beautiful artwork that you have for your debut EP. Just tell me about what made you kind of want to go with the design that it is now, and who is the brilliant mastermind behind it?
Well, the artist is actually our guitarist, Sean Arsenian. And like it kind of ties in with the actual band name as well. It's kind of like it came from this documentary about a Russian prison where they trying to invent something to basically scare the shit out of criminals to the point where they'll never do anything bad again. So there was this thing that they had at the prison called a cell press, which is where they would throw an inmate in to a cell that contained, like, I can't remember how many, it was a dozen or more of the worst, like just beastly dudes there, and just let them have at this person. And we were like, you know, it's a very like vulgar thing. Obviously we wouldn't condone something like that, but we're like, it's kind of like the meaning behind it is really brutal. And it doesn't sound like it. I mean, you could think it has something to do with a cell phone, maybe like pressing buttons on a cell phone, like kind of ambiguous in a way, but like for us, it was great because it's not like a brutal death metal name that you'd see in like scribbles. You like, what does that say? You know, like
yeah,
logo. Yeah, we thought it was a kind of innocent name with like a really brutal like undertone to it, to those who know, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sean created that, and it's kind of inspired by that whole like mental image basically of that scenario.
After hearing the explanation behind it, I see that now more than ever when looking at it, because I am looking at it right now via Bandcamp, and now I can't stop thinking about what you just said. Jesus. Look at it.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal thought. Like,
now, when it came to writing, recording, mastering, mixing everything down, and creating the masterpiece that you now have now, for you personally, what song did you find the most difficult to either write, record? Just what song gave you the hardest time you felt during the entire process?
Like I'm not sure because like I would say out of like there's the four the experimental song at the end. I don't feel like anything was super difficult. Maybe like what for myself, the way that I kind of come up with like the drum composition, it is like I'm not the type of person who can hear a riff and be like, okay, this is what I'm playing right off the bat. I have to kind of like get to know the riff and figure out different ways that I can play with it. So it's not like I'm playing the exact same thing every time. Like, you know, the verse is going to be the same tempo. Like I like to switch it up, put a different groove in there, maybe go with a halftime feel, something like that. I'd say maybe Dead at OACE is like the one that I spent the most time working on before the studio, because I always make sure I'm very well prepared because I don't like wasting time. I don't like that pressure because, you know, when you're recording, you're under the microscope. And if you get like a seed of doubt in your head, you stumble on a part and then you're like, okay, next, let's do the next take. And you're thinking like, okay, that's the part I fucked up. It's coming up. I don't like feeling like that, you know? So I had everything pretty much worked out beforehand, but yeah, I would say, yeah, it's not a matter of like it being difficult. I just spent the most one, I would think. Yeah.
Okay, now it is pretty hard to not bring up the fact that this album is being released during a time where you can't really promote it live in person and perform concerts. For you personally, how does that make you feel?
You know, it's really weird. I feel like we're so deep into this pandemic. I met up with the guys last week, and we were talking about, well, Sean and Tom, the singer, were saying, man, it's like such a bummer. Like tonight, yeah, it was the day of the release, the evening of the release, and Tom was saying like, yeah, fuck. Normally we would be like playing a show tonight or within the next week or something to coincide with the release, and it's like it never occurred to me, you know, because it's, yeah, like I said, we're so deep in it, you forget how things were 8 months ago even. So like I was feeling like, okay, you know, things are the way they are and there's nothing we can do about it. But then I kind of got bummed. I'm like, oh yeah, like we would be playing a show to like be like, hey, we're putting out this album we worked hard on and been waiting a while to put it out. So yeah, like that night it was a letdown, but I hadn't thought of it before. So like, yeah, the promotion wise, like I mean, I'd say with this release, out of probably anything I've been involved with, like the response has been great. So I feel like everything's been really good. Like playing a show or playing multiple shows, you know, to play these songs that we worked on for a while would feel great, but yeah, it's not an option, and who knows when that's going to be a thing again. So it's kind of like, you know, I'll just go to the jam space and play and be like, yeah, you know, just trying to make the most of it and not look at it negatively and be like, you know, missing shows a lot, because it's like nobody knows when it's going to happen again. So I'm trying to look on the bright side and not think about it, I guess.
And that's a good way to look at things. Now, a lot of bands nowadays that have released albums during these past 8 months of the COVID era have either transitioned into doing a live stream or even just play through videos to upload to YouTube. Has there been any conversations of either, I guess, I forget the term I'm looking for, but Has any of those options been in the conversations between the Cell Press members?
Yeah, there's something I never like, when people start talking about things that might happen in the future, and then it's like it never happens, and it just sounds like they're, you know, like full of it basically.
Yeah.
We have been talking with like a promoter in Montreal. Um, uh, Came up with the idea of doing that at his venue, and was saying something about maybe February or March if we're interested. So we're talking about it. May or may not happen. So yeah, a live streaming thing uh, could be in the works. We'll see how that would go. I think it would feel really weird because you're not, feeding off the energy from the crowd, and the crowd of 7 people, which includes the promoter and the bartender. But still, like there's a vibe to that. As for like I actually did a playthrough video. Because I was like, hey, I have to do something creative, I guess, with my time. I'm like, I don't know. It's not just something to do, I guess. I was like, maybe I'll make a playthrough video of a couple of songs, and I uploaded one. I'm gonna do one like next week. Basically, like a tutorial on how to play drums incorrectly, so nobody should take
incorrectly
any pointers from it, other than I don't think I should do that. But yeah, that's like the most creative thing I could think of doing, like other than just playing alone in my jam space over the past 8 months.
Fair. Fair enough. Now, Mark, being in such a very dominant metal scene like Montreal, where does Cell Press stand amongst the others bands?
Well, I don't know. I feel like there are a lot of like brutal tech death bands here, and like a variety of different genres that I enjoy. But I feel like we're kind of all over the place. And when Sean and I started the band, there was no talk about anything like, oh, what should we sound like, or like where will we fit in here or there. It's just kind of like a mix of all the type of music that we love, just kind of like a melting pot, basically. There was actually someone reviewed the EP, and I was like, yo, we have to like take on this definition. They called it asterisk core, and I was like, yeah, it's like this all-encompassing definition. And I'm like, that's perfect, because there have been a few reviews that said like we're sludge metal, and I was like, it's weird like what is that even, like it's hard for me to think of like any band and go like they're this or they're that. It's usually like some influences that kind of seep in there that you can hear, and it's like, well, they're not just stoner rock, or they're not just whatever. There are other elements in there. So yeah, I'm not sure what we are, actually. I think we're many things, and I think asterisk core really works for us.
I mean, if you're loving the music you're producing, I think that's the only thing that should matter.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sorry, did the music do you hear music in the background?
I do, but I can still hear you.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no worries. No, where are you?
I'm visiting my partner in Ottawa, and her internet crapped out, so we came to her office, and there's a spin class next door, so things might get a little loud.
Alrighty, that's the first time here that a spin class might interrupt an interview.
They're probably spreading COVID over there, so it's like, hopefully people, whoever listens to this, can't get COVID through the speakers or something, because it's probably coming through the vents here.
Yeah. Well, here's hoping. Well, Mark, I do have one last question to ask you. It's a question we ask all of our first-time guests who appear on the channel because it's very important just to have this last icebreaker question to make sure they have some. The question is simple: who would win in a fight, Lemmy or God?
Well, I don't believe there is a God, so Lemmy wins because he doesn't have to fight anybody. He's probably just like sitting at a bar playing that, what was that, like video poker game or whatever he would do at that bar in LA.
Oh no, jeez. So you picked the right answer. Lemmy is always the correct answer.
Well, Lemmy is God, right? So
Yes.
it's kind of like a trick question.
Exactly. Well, Mark, thank you so much for taking time out of your very busy schedule to join me today just to talk about Cell Press and your latest release of the EP, which came out on November 27th, which you can listen to on Bandcamp, Spotify, and other streaming platform services.
That's right. Hey, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on. And like, the questions were great. It wasn't the standard type of stuff that I would expect, so I really appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mark. Is there anything else you'd like to say to the people that are going to be watching this on YouTube?
No, I don't think so. But if you feel the desire to check us out, I appreciate that. If you think we sound like complete dog shit, I respect your opinion. And thank you for your time. Even if you only listen to about 15 seconds and go, this isn't for me, that means a lot to me. For real.
Awesome. And until next time, everyone, keep on thrashing.